welcome to Enterprise Zone, the show that caters to small businesses, allowing them a platform to show us exactly what they're all about. As we do on the show today, we are in Linden to meet up with a woman by the name of Miki Moloketsi, who is the founder and owner of a company called Mama's Spices and Herbs. Join me as we find out about her business story. Miki. Miki, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Alison.
Now, I believe you started your business in quite an unconventional way. Take us through how Mama's Spices and Herbs began.
Yeah. I had a business prior to that. It was actually a call center business. At the age of 30, I decided that I will never be broke another day in my life, and I have a lot of respect also for people who work for bosses. And I've always been an entrepreneur coming from Kimberley. From the age of 13, I've always sold one thing or the other. So at the age of 30, I decided, you know what, I'm not going to work anymore for the boss. So we started a business with my ex-husband then. And 4 years later, the business failed. So I was looking for an opportunity. Now this was in 2012, May 2012. I was looking for an opportunity, and I knew it had to be something in the township market in particular. Okay. And a lot of people, particularly my grandmother, will always be complaining about how every time she goes for checkup in the clinic, the nurses tell her to stop eating spices. But having well-traveled, I was curious as to what is it about South African spices that are making people sick, because I know that spices and herbs actually have a lot of health benefits. So, and knowing that everything that we consume actually it's spiced, even water is flavored, you know. So I started looking into that. When I was doing my research, I found that a lot of stuff that is being sold in the township has a lot of colorants and preservatives. They try to volumize the spices in order to cheapen and make it affordable. And hence, with all these other problems that people are also encountering. And it's not only the spices, obviously, that people are eating that are making them sick. It's also the lifestyle, the way people eat. The food is predominantly your brown and white, your bread, your pap, and meat, and there's very little vegetables. And I'd met this other lady from the gym, because I also exercise. She started her own business, spice and herbs business, in the kitchen at her home, and now turning over 20 million rand per month. Wow. So I was very curious, and she does spices. So I approached her with the idea, and how I actually got to know that she was doing what she's doing is that I'm always curious about people. I talk to everyone because it's great to network.
I believe that is your strength, being involved in networking. Yeah.
That's it. And now people used to actually network at the golf course. Now we actually network at the gym. You network on the road if you're a runner, for example. So she told me that this is what she does, and the rest is history. I approached her, said this is what I would like to do, and that's how Mama Spice and Herbs actually was started.
Great. So you managed to find a niche based on a real problem where people were even getting health issues like diabetes from MSG and preservatives in spices. So take us through, how did you create your product? How long has Mama's Spices and Herbs been around, and how did you actually formulate the product that you have?
So I didn't have my own resources at the time. Remember, I had just gone through a divorce, so I didn't have money as well. And I had 10,000 rand, and I approached this lady. Ek praat ook Afrikaans, I'm from Kimberley. So I believe that it opens doors, really. Worst thing that can happen is that you ask and you be rejected, and no doesn't mean never, it means maybe not now. But worst thing that can happen, you ask and you take it from there. So I said I wanted to focus in the township market. So because they had all the resources, the factory. I only had 10,000 rand. If I had waited and asked for funding start applying for all of that, I wouldn't have actually gotten started. So I targeted the 3 townships in particular. That's where I did my research. Diepsloot, Cosmos City, and Lion Park. Okay. So that's where I was going. It's quite close to Randburg, and Randburg is where I live. Back and forth, trying to find out what people were eating, what they were buying from, what they were buying, what they were cooking, and what they were cooking with. And going into those kitchens, and I'll go back to R&D with the company that was actually helping me at the time, because they had the R&D, they've got your SABS approval, they've got all the resources. And So back and forth, too spicy, too yellow, too peppery, between the lab with working with the food technologists and having their quality control, and in the township. And 3 months later, from the research, that's how Mama Spice and Herbs was actually launched and going into market. Yeah.
So you went and did your own research and development. 100%. You stood in the township, in other people's kitchens, and went and found out yourself.
Absolutely.
This is something that is so key to an entrepreneur. And I want to hear some of your challenges since you've started Mama's Herbs, Spices and Herbs.
One of the biggest challenges is I was looking into the township market. The big thing is people only have so much as far as money is concerned. You've got maybe more disposable income. You risk more. You know, you want to try something new. You're most likely to buy. But if you only have 5 rand or 10 rands, you're most likely to buy what you're familiar with.
What you know.
What you know. So just having to introduce something that is completely different to what people already know. And they're accustomed to whatever they already know. So that was one of the biggest challenges that I had. And just going into an area that I don't know. But one of my biggest things is, I mean, I've never lived in the township here in Gauteng. So, but just putting yourself out there. I remember I'll network even with the taxi drivers because they'll come and eat skop, or skop is the cow's head, for example. Or I'll go speak to a mama who's cooking stew in the kitchen. So I'll go in with a lot of samples, you know, because I had to show them how to use it. And that's how they started buying from me. But just introducing the product to them was a bit of a challenge because you're not familiar with it.
Yeah, and getting them to trust your product.
That's it. But what I like also about the people in the township in particular, people are very receptive. You know, it's not like someone is going to shut you down and say, I'm not interested. People will open up their doors, listen to you. And so I like that they're very receptive. And I learned quite a lot of lessons also from it. I mean, I'll get advice, for example, from the guy, taxi driver in Diepsloot saying, you know what, it's fine, you can work in Diepsloot, but when it hits 5 o'clock p.m., get out of here because, you know, it's not as safe. Because you're not from this area. Okay,
so you're getting proper practical advice from people who live in the area and you're taking it on board and using it to your advantage. And at this time, with your very limited resources, how are you able to provide people with samples and have the stock on hand to go and show people what you have?
I was very fortunate as well because remember I only had 10,000 rand and the people that I'd approached, because I'd also been helping the lady at the gym who had helped me start up the business. I was helping her with her training. So it was amazing how she was helping me out as well at the same time. So although I had very little resources, they'll supply me with the samples. Mostly it would be like in your, it wasn't packed the way you're seeing it now. So I'll get it, for example, in a kg bag. And those are, and I'll be there in the kitchen, you know, little bit, little bit. So not even packaged at the time. I hadn't even registered the business because, you know, like, you know, everyone waits for something, you know, you want to have the perfect logo, you want to have a business plan. I had none of that.
And you just went and
I just went out and I did it. No bank account,
impressive.
nothing. And so I just got things done, but it was amazing the help that I received from the beginning by just asking and putting myself out there and humbling myself to say, you know, I need help.
Okay, great. So how, as we see it now, how long has Mama's been registered and in business, and how many people have you got employed directly?
Okay. The biggest thing actually that I did, coming from, I used to work for a bank. Just that's as part of my background. I did corporate social investment. And at the bank, I was handling, you know, the CSI side of the business. So I've always been passionate about helping people create sustainable incomes or livelihoods. So I started a concept called Business in the Box. So for as little as 400 rands, people could start up their own businesses. I went on social media. I've also studied public relations. So I started sharing my story, and that's how people got to know about the business. So what helped me tremendously as well is that people will order. So I don't have money. Remember, I don't have stock. I don't have cash. They order. That means now I've got money in, and then they will dispatch their orders. So that's how I was able to generate cash and have cash on hand. And so mostly I was alone. I was helping, and since I was helping people start up their own businesses, so we had distributors in various areas. So people will buy their business in the box, 400 rand, for example, with a certain amount of profit, and that's how the business actually got to spread now nationally. Yeah, and We've got over 1,000 distributors. I think over the last 4 years, we've got maybe a total of 5,000 entrepreneurs. People come and go as well. Because I found also people get excited about a new business or something that's new. I am very patient. I'm very patient. I'm able to stick something out. I believe in something, I'm going to stick it out.
And you have to stay the course.
I stay the course, yeah, because I really believed and like I knew. So at the beginning, you know, people come and go. People are not as patient. You start something and then something else comes tomorrow and then you're there. And I always say, you know, 5 years later, you're going to find yourself in the same position.
Yeah.
So officially, I started May 2012.
Okay.
Probably just registered in 2013. I registered the business. I only had my bank account in 2014. So I was running really from hand to mouth.
Wow,
Like
okay.
really. Only started making money in 2016. But however, I've never been without. So I will hustle, working 16, 18-hour day. And remember, I just divorced, so I had my child that I was staying with. I had one of the biggest sacrifices I had to make was to ask my ex-husband if his family could look after our daughter so that I can continue with the hustle. And I think that's one thing that a lot of us entrepreneurs, particularly women, we struggle also with because you want to be everything. But for me, I thought it's either I'm going to be this, or you can be both. You know, I'm just trying to find the right words for it, but at the time, I couldn't do both.
Yes.
You know, the
so
last
you had
straw.
to focus.
I had to focus. The last straw for me was actually fetching my daughter at 7 p.m. On a Friday night from school because I'd been hustling and I got stuck in traffic. And I thought, I can't do this. You know, it's got to be this or the other. And fortunately, I've got a good relationship with my ex-husband. We spoke about it, and my daughter now goes to school in another province. And I don't think I would have been able to do it without the support, you know. Yeah. So fast forward, I've always believed, big thing, in setting goals. So I set goals for myself. I write things down all the time. And I was telling you earlier that I don't own a TV, for example. So I write down my goals. And I focus on that and I start chunking, you know.
And you work towards those goals.
Towards that, yeah.
So take us through some of those. What are your perhaps 5-year goals for this?
I don't work on, I don't go 5 year, I work 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I work backwards. So for example, I'll just give you an example. I set myself that I was going to make $1 million, okay, by a certain time in 2016. I said I wanted to make my first $1 million. So I did, it's there written, and then I cut out a vision board. So I had a vision board with 7 specific goals that I was working on, and one of them was my financial goals, which was to make my first $1 million. So I took a $100, not a bill, but there's a tissue that they used to have here. So I wrote down $1 million on it. And then I had my, obviously, 6 other goals, the car and my relationship goal with my daughter in particular. And I promise you, August 2016, you know, that manifested, it happened because it's something, it's something that I was seeing every single day. So no matter what was happening on the outside, I wasn't getting discouraged, you know, because it's so easy to get discouraged when things are not happening at the time that we want them to. But when you're believing in what you're doing and it's there every single day, it reminds you of what it is that you're working towards and why. The why has to be very strong. But my why is my daughter. And my family, my mother and my sisters, and then obviously helping the community as well and helping other people.